We got a bidet! Hey everybody, and welcome back for another video. In today's Shoot the Sheev, we're moving on to the next Ewok film that was live action. So we covered the Caravan of Courage already, which I think that one came out in 84, and then in 85, this movie came out, the one we're talking about today. So the Battle for Endor, which is a very interesting film, to say the least. I think when we came off of the first live action film, we were actually like really pleasantly surprised about, what did they do with it, knowing kind of where they were, budgeting and whatnot, because these were like TV releases first, and then at least the first one went to theaters. I don't know if this one went to theaters as well. But to kind of give a little bit of idea of what was going on in this movie before we start to talk a little bit more nitty-gritty stuff. This movie picks up where the second one left off, or the first one left off. We had the kids and the family that were on Endor, and they're trying to fix their ship still. They're trying to be able to get off of this planet. And they get in a little skirmish, so to speak, with some dudes that supposedly inhabit Endor, and they're just kind of going through the villages and just killing people and taking names and prisoners and all that good stuff. And they eventually get to the main family, and the parents and the son, unfortunately, the what?
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. The parents and the son actually are killed in this beginning thing, little skirmish. And so the rest of the movie, we do follow Wicket and do we remember the girl's name?
Sindel.
Sindel. We follow Wicket and Sindel the rest of the way. We also, you guys, or Josh, you remember the actor's name, I think. Who's the other big name that's in this movie?
He's the diabetes guy.
Wilford Brimley.
Yeah, Wilford Brimley. A very young Wilford Brimley, and that's not a phrase that you hear regularly. He was old when I was young, so young. Yeah.
Well, don't forget this was early 80s, so I guess that's when he was young. I don't know when he was born. But like when we were watching this movie, there Josh and also Jeff, who was on the previous podcast. I don't remember if Kyle was a part of this too, but basically they said, "Oh, so and so's in the film," and they knew right away. So supposedly he was popular with some other things besides just the commercials that we all know nowadays. So it was interesting to see, this person that, at least for me and others here, saw somebody that they know from a commercial, but now he's in a film and we get to see him from a different point of view. So that's kind of a cool little thing that we got out of this film.
I looked it up, and when this movie came out, he was actually 51 years old.
I would not have guessed
Wow.
51.
I would have said that he was. Yeah, I'd agree.
So some kind of important things that are going on in the film throughout. Like I said, there's like this group. I don't know what species they are, but there's just like this group of bandits, so to speak, that are also living on Endor, and they're going around taking and stealing stuff from different villages. And so they're searching for this like power device, whatever, that happens to be in the parents' ship. And so they take the device after they kill the parents, and then they are trying to figure out how to use it. So for some reason, even though they took it, they don't know how to use it. And so that's when like they have this witch that supposedly is supposed to be helping them figure it out. They got things going on between them as far as drama, but ultimately, Wicket and you said her name already,
Sindel.
Endor.
Kendall, uh, them and the other Ewoks, if I remember correctly, basically are trying to liberate their planet from these people, or at least their village. I don't know about you guys, but I thought it was kind of interesting how, it's called the Battle for Endor, but it kind of seemed like it was just like a very small section of Endor. Like it's one of those things where these planets look so huge on screen, but then we only focus on this very small part of it. And it just kind of made me wonder, like, is that really the appropriate title for the movie, or is it should have just been like the battle for the Ewok village or something like that?
Yeah, especially since the primary point behind the rest of the movie here is to get Sindel off planet, basically, is what with the help of diabetes. So Wilford. Um, and yeah, I was confused by that the whole time I watched this. I didn't understand the title.
Well, like at first, it was all the Ewoks and Sindel had been captured, and then Wicket and Sindel were able to escape, right? And so then they found this hut or house that they were just going to go live in, and then they weren't going to rescue all their friends. They were just going to live in that house.
Mhm.
And then Wilford's character, Noah, showed up with his uh Ewok type creature. It wasn't an Ewok.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Yeah, teak.
Like
Teak.
it was
Yeah,
like a rabbit noid.
that like can move super fast. I thought
Yeah.
he was interesting.
Yep.
The real
Yeah.
MVP.
So
The real
they come
MVP.
back, and then now, Noah doesn't want them to live there because this is his house and he's a grumpy old man, but he actually kind of cares about them. And so there's like a back and forth of that. Then they decide that they want to go save their friends. And in doing so, they're able to save their friends, but then there's like a final battle because Noah's character got the power source to use for his own ship or something like that. So we kind of changed directions in the film of where we're going a lot.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't think they knew where they wanted to go with it. I think it was just like, here's a vague plot. This is what we'll do.
Like, well, what can we do for the next 10 minutes?
Yeah,
What can we do for the next 10 minutes after that?
that's what it felt like to me, at least. Where it's like they didn't know how to kind of continue the plot and make it into like an hour plus movie. So they were just adding random stuff.
I thought it was kind of interesting that their fortress reminded me a lot of the witches from The Wizard of Oz, like how they kept running between the hallways and stuff.
Mhm.
I kept getting more and more vibes from that movie. I was kind of wondering if they were almost going to kind of steal what happened in Wizard of Oz and do the whole like, they come from two different directions and then double cross them in the middle, and then they find some way to get out of it, kind of a thing. Um,
Mhm.
Unfortunately, it doesn't happen, but
It does.
um, so all four of us have watched the holiday special, and I believe when we watched the Caravan of Courage, we kind of compared it a little bit. Um, but knowing how much that some people really don't like the holiday special, how do we think it compared to this movie, the Battle for Endor versus the holiday special? Because I want to ask this because the holiday special has been tried to, basically been trying to be erased from everything, whereas this movie actually came out on DVD. So we can see where Lucasfilm feels about these movies. So what do we think? Do we think Holiday Special or Battle for Endor is better?
I like Battle for Endor, to be honest. I know it was like the plot was weird and it had its moments, but it just felt more like a movie than the holiday special.
I would agree that to say that the Battle for Endor felt more like a movie than the holiday special. I think a part of that has to do with length.
Mhm.
Um, and uh, the the thing that let the holiday special down was the special effects. Like the Wookiees are nightmarish. Um, they're bad, right? Like the grandpa or the little no, it's the little kid is past freakish. Um, and that's where I feel like the Battle for Endor had some benefits. They actually spent some money on special effects, and so the cinematography itself was pretty good. Um, but I don't know. I've been trying to think of how I would describe the way I would explain the Battle of Endor to somebody who is my age and might understand this. But it reminded me of like if Monty Python directed a live version of um, like the Dark Crystal. Uh, it is just a bad mix of weird movies, and I don't know. I was very disinterested by the end. I will say that.
Was the Dark Crystal animated?
No, it wasn't animated. But it wasn't. I guess it was live action. I shouldn't just call it not. It was puppets, though. It was a Jim Henson masterpiece.
I know uh, Josh referenced the Wookiees being terrifying from the holiday special. I would argue that Wicket is terrifying. Going from what he looked like in Return of the Jedi, and now he has eyes that just don't quit. Um,
They were better in this one. They moved. That was a little weird. I wasn't expecting the movement. Um, in comparison to the first Ewok movie, I would agree that that was frightening. But
that's an Ewok from Nightmares and stuff.
Hard for me to say which one I like better because the holiday special, we've kind of had it become a tradition that we watch it every year, just kind of for the fun of it. Whereas this was the first time watching this one, so it doesn't like hold that place in my heart like the holiday special does. But in terms of content, I it's hard to say. Neither one really has a direction on what's happening, but the holiday special is kind of more like a variety show where like it's different things that are completely separate from each other. Like when like for example, uh they play a little band playing music for one of the Imperial officers. So that's like, I don't know, a 5-ish minute clip is this band playing, and there's a gymnast doing all kinds of weird acrobatics and stuff. So like that's a segment. Whereas this one, it's the same characters. They just keep changing their minds on what they're doing and never actually doing anything, which is kind of strange. Um, so I don't know. I watch this again? Ooh, that's a tough question.
Well, I think it's kind of interesting too, because correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't this the movie that kind of between the two Ewok movies, wasn't this the one that had something that was kind of like gymnastic-ish that they were watching for entertainment? Because I thought I remember asking like, how did that compare to the holiday special? Because I remembered the group being like, that was kind of cool, and I was thinking to myself like, we saw that in the holiday special and nobody liked it. I don't remember what it was, but it was definitely in the film.
I
There
don't
was some
recall.
weird thing that happened.
Hmm.
But also, Josh was mentioning like how he would describe the movie. I do remember Jeff was the other guy that was on the other podcast with us, and I do remember how he described it. And I liked it, so I want to bring it out here. He had mentioned this is basically Star Wars Power Rangers. Just with the way that things were being filmed, it looked and felt a lot like Power Rangers. I don't Power Rangers came out in the 90s, didn't it?
Um, It might have been late 80s in Japan.
Okay, so this movie probably came out before that. Um, but needless to say, like with the witch lady, that felt a lot like the lady from Power Rangers.
Yeah,
And the main bad guy, again, I don't know what his species was, but he definitely looked like he could have been a Power Rangers villain. Uh, so it's kind of
Mighty
fun.
Morphin Power Rangers came out in '93.
Okay.
93.
In America or on its
Yes.
pure release in America? Okay.
USA.
Yeah. I would imagine Japanese release was before that by a good bit.
There was something, I don't want to go too far down the Power Rangers rabbit hole, but wasn't there also something before like Mighty Morphin, which it like wasn't called Power Rangers, but it was basically the same thing that was over in Japan?
It certainly could be. I mean, like, so Go Lion um, is what everyone else would call, um, oh, for crying out loud, why is my brain? It's Friday and I'm over it. Um, Voltron was called Go Lion, and Go Lion released in like 76 or 8, something like that. It was out for a good bit before Voltron made it big in America. So I could see, that's why I'm saying I could see a lot of these different kinds of shows having predecessors and or earlier releases in Japan. It
What
did
you're
very much have that feel.
what you're thinking of, Jeremy, I just found it. It was called Super Sentai and it came out in 1975.
There we go. So maybe it was influenced by it a little bit. Cool.
And that wouldn't strike me as odd with Lucas's kind of affectation towards some Japanese culture stuff.
Hmm. Cool. Well, it sounded like Kyle preferred the Ewok movie. I'm probably in the boat of the holiday special, just because, like Sarah said, we watch it every year. It's kind of grown on us, and we just learned how to put up with it. Um, Josh, which one would you say?
I would say the holiday special.
Same with Sarah.
Yeah.
I find it fascinating because of the way that the movies were treated by Lucas that we feel that way. So,
Well, and
Well,
I think that,
if I was comparing Caravan of Courage, the first Ewok movie, I think I would pick that one over this Battle
oh, for
for
sure.
Endor or the holiday special. That would probably be my top one of the three.
Much agreed. Yes.
same.
The other thing we kept saying as we were watching it was, "This is Star Wars." Um, there were just so many things about it that didn't feel Star Wars-y. I'm going to run with that. Um, whereas, even though the holiday special is kind of piecemeal, like Sarah was saying, um, it was digestible as being Star Wars. Um, the Empire was the Empire, and the Wookiees were Wookiees, and in this Ewok movie, there's weird mutant lizards and um, crazy magic that people turn into crows and stuff. Like I don't know, it was not traditional, if you want to go that far, Star Wars. I think that's what pushed it away for me.
It says just a future reference. They're called the Marauders for the bad guys, and the witch is Cheryl. Cheryl. I don't remember what the bad guy's name was.
I think they're just Marauders.
Oh, I
Main
thought
bad
he had
guy
a
had
name.
he had a name. I don't remember what it was. Because I thought they kind of show in the Clone Wars, they kind of look similar to, I think when Anakin gets kidnapped by that one bounty hunter, um, with the blue skin and the like jetpack shoes.
Cad Bane.
Yeah, I think like his crew kind of looked like that too.
Hmm.
I
I'll
don't know
have
if
to
you
go back and
remember.
look. I could definitely see that happening because Dave Filoni likes to pick a lot of things from older Star Wars. So there's a very good possibility. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the things that we had tough love for this film, and I'm looking forward to it. Have you ever wondered what Amazon coffins are and what they're full of? Well, we got you covered here on the channel. Check out our playlist of our Amazon coffin unboxings, where Sarah and I open up boxes that have Amazon returns, and we share with all of you what we get in each of those boxes. If you ever wanted to get into liquidation and want to know what types of things you can find, check us out. Now back to our show. Welcome back, everybody. We are here now with some tough love for the Battle for Endor, the second Ewok movie. I'm sure we all have our individual things we didn't like. The one thing that really, really bugged me about this movie is that Wicket, and I think other Ewoks too, but the focus was on Wicket, that he could speak fluent English in this film. And this film takes place before Return of the Jedi, so it's really it bothers me as far as a lore perspective, because when Wicket meets Leia, he should be able to just straight up talk to her in English, or instead of the going through the motions of her being like, "Dude, this is a hat," and he's like thinking that the hat is a weapon, and being standoffish to her. So I don't know about you guys, but it really bugged me this time. He learned a little bit of English in the first movie, but this one, it was like full on.
It pulled me right out. I hated that he could talk. Like, why did they have to change that? It doesn't sound normal. If he had talked in episode 6 way back when, it wouldn't be a big deal, because like the voice sounds like it could be coming from him. That's not the issue. It's not like some beefy voice coming out of some teeny tiny Ewok. It's not that. It's just the fact that he talks at all. It wasn't for me.
That would have been hilarious if it would have been some like super deep voice coming out of Wicket. Like Idris Elbus or something.
Oh, that would have been funny.
That would have been funny.
They just suffer from long-term memory loss. They just can't store anything, or they store it for a little while, and then 2 years later they meet Leia and they're just astounded by her beauty. Now they forget what a hat does.
Could be.
That's also a little bit of.
What was I gonna say? I don't know. I lost my train of thought. Maybe it'll come back. We have seen though in Return of the Jedi that Wicket isn't very good with like slingshots, and he hits himself in the face. So maybe he got concussed or something, and he forget. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. So when we were watching the first one, they spoke a little bit English, like we mentioned, but there was also times where they were speaking. I think they called it Ewokese or something like that, and
Right.
sometimes they had subtitles, because we were talking about how that was a big difference in the holiday special when the Wookiees were just barking at each other. But even when the Ewoks didn't have subtitles, there were some words in enunciations of the different Ewokese language where we could pick up what they were saying. Like, we almost had to make up our own vocabulary for it, but the point came across. So
I don't know what the feat you're talking about.
exactly. But I feel like that really gave the first movie so much feeling more like Star Wars, because we were actually having some of the stuff from a galaxy far, far away, being in front of us, and we're living with it. And now when we get to this one, it's almost like they had to dumb it down for us and then just straight do
Living in California.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because even the like Endor Redwood Forest was California, so I wonder if do you think this one? I've never been to the Redwood Forest.
I have.
Do you think this was filmed close or at the Redwood Forest?
Yes, yes. That was definitely Northern California. Pretty sure it's Northern California. Pretty sure it is. But
Well, yeah.
it was.
Yeah, because whenever we're thinking about going to Disney, we're like, oh, let's go to the Redwood Forest, and they're like hours away from each other. So yeah, that was my biggest complaint from the film.
I didn't like the trajectory of the plot. Um, the Marauders coming, that was fine. The, Wicket and Sindel escaping, that was fine. But then if you think of those characters and how sweet and innocent they both are, and they escaped to go find help or to figure out a way to help their friends, because that was the whole point of them escaping. And then they just decide that they want to be at this house and like, oh, we'll just live here now, la 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 la. Like, what? Like that doesn't make any sense. Go help your friends. What are you doing?
Bunch of losers.
You guys got
Largo?
captured.
Forget what the Ewok word was for that. It started with an L too.
Lardo.
Lardo. Yeah,
Largo.
Ethan
couple,
Lardos.
couple Lardos.
I it felt like if Gene Roddenberry directed uh, Robin Hood Men in Tights with uh teddy bears that had eyes that stared at you insanely intently. It was. I know this is supposed to be a tough love. There's a no love on this one for me. It was just rough. It was just yeah.
The thing is, too, we watched these both on the same day. So, like, we were kind of on this high from the Caravan of Courage. And then when we turned this one on, we're sitting around, we're eating pizza, and we're just like, what? How did we get here?
Yeah, I just think it's like super inconsistent plot wise. It doesn't flow well. They kind of, like I said earlier, it just felt like they didn't know how to continue from point A to point C for the plot. Um, and then like I didn't like the magic. I mean, I like the magic aspect of it, but then I also don't like how they don't explain any of that. It's just there.
You're just gonna have
Yeah,
to
there's
read a book.
there's a number of those things. Like the guy, so I want to say his name was like Tarek or something like that. I can't remember the
That
bad guy.
sounds close.
But like, why did he want this power thing? Like, other than
Yeah,
it being power, why did he think that the power was so? Because it's like some sort of battery, right? Like, is
yeah,
basically what they've got. And why does he need it to work? What's it gonna
yeah.
do? Like, why does he need it? There's the motive, so to speak, the reason behind the story is just that was weak. And I like, other than the moments when they're in the Redwood Forest, um, they're in. That's why I brought up Robin Hood. Like, they're literally in a medieval castle. I'm sorry, a long time ago, far, far away. In what land has there been castles in any of the movies? Like, I mean, granted, maybe the last one there was some castle-like structure, but it wasn't really a castle. It was more just like a fortress, right? The with the multiple emperors or whatever it was when Ray wins. Um, and yeah, I just it was not great.
I looked it up and you guys are right. It was Tarek or King Tarek as the leader of the Marauders.
And I also looked up why it says on Wikipedia that the Marauders stole the power cell because they believed it had some sort of magic power over the stars. So maybe they've never gone off planet and they felt that that was a magic power to be able to fly away.
Hmm.
But I don't know. That could be us just filling in the ad lib of the story.
It certainly
Yeah,
never came across in the movie. At least if it did, I was so disinterested at that point that I didn't hear it.
yeah, the only time I think they mentioned anything was when they had the Power 4 and the witch was trying to like make it work. but she couldn't, and they brought up he had like the blueprint of like what he needed for it, and but they didn't really like explain anything besides like just get the power.
I don't understand why Sindel went with Noah at the end of the movie. Like, it makes
Why?
sense that she's not going to live with the Ewoks forever by herself because she's just a kid. But as a kid, wouldn't you think, like, these are my friends, these are my family? Wouldn't
Yeah.
she want to do that? Not that that's the right answer, but like, she put up no fight. She just went with Noah, this guy she just met like that same day. Like, okay, I guess you're my dad now. Like, what?
What would help me sleep at night for that question would be, if there was a human still at the Ewok village when Leia gets there, that would be kind of iffy with their reaction to Leia. So maybe that's their band-aid on it, is that she just leaves.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I wish she would have said something like, Noah, will you take me to see my grandma or something like that? And then he takes her to wherever the rest of her family is. Like that, a one-liner would have made that make so much more sense.
Yeah, it almost felt like she magically became his family instead. Yeah, that was a little weird.
You mean like how Rey became part of the Skywalker family by magic?
I'm a
Josh, you reminded me
Skywalker
of
now.
something that I think Jeff had said, but maybe it was somebody else. I don't remember who said it, but when we were watching this movie and, the Noah character, Wilford Brimley, so he was like this grumpy old man, and then he kind of warmed up to Sindel. And so one of us in our group that was watching this was like kind of almost waiting for him to say, like, I used to have a daughter, then she's not around anymore. And like that was kind of why he was attaching to Sindel or like accepting
Hmm.
her as like a daughter type figure. But then that never happened either. So
So there was the connection with Noah and some other partner or business partner or friend or
I think it
something,
was a friend.
um, and how they died because of something, but I don't think it had anything to do with the Marauders. Um,
Well, the partner had gone off to go find a part they needed to fix the ship, and then they found the partner's skeleton in the Marauder's dungeon,
gotcha. That's
and
right.
somehow knew that the skeleton was the partner.
Right. Well, there some sort of jewelry or something, piece of
Maybe.
something. I don't remember. Um, Obviously incredibly endearing, um, that we recall. But yeah, no, it was there were I don't necessarily call them plot holes. They were just chasms of storyline from one plateau to another boring plateau.
Yeah, I feel like with the first one, even though we kind of had some indecisive opinions about exploring more parts of Endor, like how there was like the somewhat like desert area. It kind of feels like in this one they really didn't take any chances with that kind of an idea. They just kind of, like you guys said, there's these marauders. They're trying to steal the power cell, and we have to fill everything in between. And it's really just kind of a smorgasbord of what we do want to fill in between. So it's interesting
Mashed potatoes
how, yeah,
on a smorgasbord. Mashed potatoes.
it's interesting how I would say almost less care was taken with this movie. Like they definitely saw some success with the first one because they released it to theaters, and maybe they were like, "Oh, it's a cash cow," and they just tried to throw another one out there. Clearly, this one wasn't good enough because we didn't get a third one.
I remembered another thing that we were kind of iffy about, and that was so when Sindel and Noah and Wicket are going back to the castle to kind of rescue their friends, right? There is a moat around the castle, and somebody in their group says, like, be careful not to go in there because there's like a creature or something that's going to get you and basically you'll die. But like, I don't think we ever really see what it is. And so that would have been really neat to see what this creature is.
It was a
I think
dude.
There's some suspense in not seeing it, but I feel like there wasn't enough suspense in not seeing it in this instance.
One of us, it might have been Jeff, it might have been, I remember hearing somebody say something about um man, I just had the word this really rough day apparently for English and me. Um the fish piranhas, that was full of piranhas, and that it had that same weird like bubbly like activity in the water that you can't see anything, but it gets kind of like uh uh agitated when in the area that they're at, but it doesn't look like there's this big thing, and it doesn't look like you don't see teeth like an alligator or something like that. Like to your point, yeah, it's a bit of a mystery.
I was gonna say it was a scuba diver just blowing air.
Well, potentially. It's like the black uh smoke monster in Lost. It was just underwater instead.
Yeah, well, we've seen them do this in the past a little bit with Star Wars. Like with Empire Strikes Back, they had that creature in the water on Dagobah. We get to see like a little fin type deal, but it would have been kind of cool to see what was going on here. Again, adding some more of that lore that probably could have helped the movie a little bit. That was one of my favorite things from the first movies. We saw creatures from Endor. Why didn't we see like a water creature here? So,
Or, a 40-foot rat.
yeah, a 40-foot rat. Was there anything else you guys want to talk about in the tough love section? All right, well, we'll see how long the section is that we liked about this movie, but when we come back, we're going to talk about some things that we did like, so stick around. Have you seen The Mandalorian? Do you wonder what Operation Cinder was that they mentioned in this show? Well, we got you covered because we have an entire playlist dedicated to the Star Wars Battlefront 2 campaign, which highlights Operation Cinder. So if you check out our playlist, you'll be able to see what actually happened with Operation Cinder and know what they're talking about with the show. Now back to ours. Welcome back, everybody. We are here to talk about things we did like about the battle for Endor. Don't know how much there really is, but there's a couple of things at least. One of them, in my opinion, and they really set the tone to a point at the very beginning of the movie when the Marauders are coming through and, they're capturing Ewoks and people or whatever. They actually kill off three of the main characters from the first movie. They kill off the human parents and the brother. I think his name was Mace.
Mace.
Yeah, so we kill the mom and dad and Mace right away in this film. And so the film kind of sets the tone of, one, we're willing to kill people off, which is kind of hard to come by in some of the Star Wars stuff lately with the TV shows. But also, they're telling us right away, hey, we're not going to lean on these characters in this movie. We're going to try to do something new and different from the first one. So I felt like that was a really cool way to open it. Whether or not that they actually came through with it is a different story. But I felt like it was a very engaging opening to prepare us for what could be a very good movie. So I'll give them kudos for the way that they kicked it off.
It was a shock, that's for sure.
Yeah. The whole time I thought they were just going to come back at the end and help save the day, but they didn't.
Well, and to your point, Kyle, I think we talked about this a little bit. You had mentioned about so they have these like life bracelets or something. I don't remember.
Yeah.
They said something about them in the first movie. But they basically have these identifying lights on them, and if the lights go out, they die. And so they, if you're wearing a bracelet, you can see the other person's colored light, and that's how you know that they're okay. So maybe that's important to the audience to know what we're talking about with these bracelets. So each family member had a bracelet, and on the bracelet was like 4 different colors, and the colors represented the other members of the family. and you seeing the light go out meant that they were dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. I expected the same. I figured that at the end they were gonna be found, or Mace damaged the bracelets to get mom out or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that part.
Um,
You can go ahead.
no. So I was gonna say there we spoke about Teak, who actually interestingly is called Teak, but Teak is actually a race of animals. It was the only thing that I shouldn't say the only thing that I liked about the movie. I'll go to the next one in a second, but he was like the saving grace to the movie for me. And I spent a good majority of the movie trying to figure out why he looks familiar. I swear he's in something else, a commercial or something. He looked very, very, very familiar. So it was funny to me that they called him Teak, but that's what he was. They'd be like calling a rat rat, or cat cat. Although we do that at my house.
I say we do call rat.
No, but we don't call rat by. I mean,
we don't name it rat.
rat. Right?
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Shredder is rat, right? But I mean, we're going for names. So that I thought was weird that they just called him Teak when he is a Teak and not that was his name. The other thing I liked, but he was fun. He was super fast. He was kind of like Sonic the Hedgehog, except he looked like he had a permagrin from maybe one too many doobies, and he
Did he
had
have
this.
to talk?
No, I don't think he did.
I don't think so.
Um, and he had this weird like Cheshire grin, kind of like this weird like I'm maybe a little too stupid to have anything to say worthwhile, but I'm also like fun because I'm fast. Um, and so, but he was fun. I enjoyed that.
I really liked them too.
Yeah. The other thing that I liked was in comparison to the first movie, the first Ewok movie, the Voyage or whatever it was called.
Caravan of Courage.
Caravan. That's right. Right. That this movie they had put more money, a noticeable amount more money into special effects. Tarek looked pretty good from a special effects actor wearing, whatever it is, what do they call that? For the
Makeup.
special effects. Well, yeah, the makeup. Yep. Um, and he like had facial expressions and could move, and so that was pretty good. Like that, I think they did a good job with the Marauders being believably an alien race. We talked about earlier in the intro about how Wicket had eyeballs that moved this time, which was better than the dead teddy bear stare that you got in the first one. And so that was better. I thought the cinematography from like the actual just filming and editing was good. Like it definitely carried on more of that movie feel. Like we were talking about earlier in comparison to how the holiday special looks more like a kind of a TV show, variety show kind of a thing. So I'll give it that. They were not redeeming in enough of a factor for me to go, oh, geez, it's going to go in my quiver of Star Wars movies to watch, because that's not going to happen.
I liked the terminology you used there about the quiver. That's fun. One of the things that I liked was the character Noah, played by Wilford Brimley again. So he's somebody who his lines were almost kind of a little too staged. Like it was a little, like, hey, go play a grumpy old man, and it kind of seemed a little bit forced, but it made it almost kind of funny because of that.
If you've seen more Wilford Brimley things, it's right up his alley.
The only thing I've seen him in is the diabetes commercial. And so I recognized him from that, but I've never seen him like as an actor from something besides a commercial. I'm not saying that like he's a terrible person or anything. I just him playing a grumpy old man in kind of like a choppy type state, like I don't know. It seemed a little maybe amateur. I don't know. I It sounds like I'm downplaying him, but I kind of think it made it more funny, and so it made it more enjoyable to watch.
I think you also have to remember the source material too. Like if he was given a crappy dialogue and script, well then there's not much you
That
can do
explains
about
it.
it too.
Yeah.
And he really is like, yeah, it's kind of funny that he's so like, I don't know how I would put these two words together, Wilford Brimley and soft spoken, but in the commercials, the diabetes commercials, he's um just the guy that you know from all those TV shows. But in all those TV shows, he is kind of a harsh, little gruff old man. Leave me alone, kid, kind of attitude. So it's I see it. I understand why it comes across as very Wilford Brimley. But yeah, I agree.
I find it interesting just the different points of view we can have about him, just from me not knowing much about him, and then you guys have like this different perspective about him because you've seen him in other things. Um, I just thought he was an interesting guy to see on screen. Like it's cool to recognize him and then just see him in different things. I didn't have the knowledge of what he did in the past, so
Oh,
I
you don't remember that commercial?
I remember the commercial, but
Oh,
I haven't seen a lot of his movies. I looked him up and apparently he was in The Thing, but I don't think I ever
Oh,
made the connection that he was in that movie. We
he was
like,
same.
the doctor in
yeah,
the
that's
thing.
exactly who he plays.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Nice.
He was in a lot of TV shows, if I remember correctly. That's what I'm recalling from my youth. And like, um, I think I said something that I felt like I remembered him being in something like Bonanza, and I don't think that's true. But that's the kind of time for. I mean, it was very 80s. Um, I I was not surprised to see him in that role. I was a little bit, but then realizing that it was a TV movie is again right kind of up his alley. So
I think I sometimes just get him mixed up with other people because I remember some like a Disney movie or something where uh him and he was like watching over a kid and there was a chimpanzee involved and stuff, and I thought that was the same guy, but I don't think it is.
hmm.
Looks a lot like him. Was there any other things that we enjoyed about this movie?
Um,
Cindel was cute. Again,
yeah.
I think that's why she's the one who survived, is because she was like the most totes adorbs from the first movie.
I also like to think she was like the main one to survive because she was like the best actress out of the three of them.
I think I said that about the last movie. One of the things that I liked about the last movie was her acting,
Yeah.
being believable. So
Mhm.
Not to be too political either, but we there's also been some talk recently from the director of one of the new shows
Mhm.
saying that Star Wars is very misogyny filled. And look at here, it was the female that survived and then was the main character of the film. So take that back, Mr. Well, so when we come back from the break, we're gonna just talk about some things to wrap up about the film. So stick around. Have you ever wondered what it's like to grow up during the prequel era? Do you wonder what type of merchandise was around then? How different was it than it is now? Check out our videos on this channel where we talk about the merchandise of the Phantom Menace and the merchandise of Attack of the Clones. They are here on this channel. The Phantom Menace is my first video ever on YouTube, so there's a special place in my heart for that one. So please, if any, check that out. Now back to our show. Welcome back for the final segment here for the battle for Endor. One thing that we kind of talked about in the break that we haven't talked a whole lot about is the ending of the film, like the actual battle for Endor. So we kind of want to talk a little bit about,
Battle
how
schmaddle.
the what?
Battle schmaddle.
Oh, yeah,
Battle
um, skirmish. How it actually came about. I think Kyle was going to lead that for us.
Yeah, so I'm gonna probably go kind of farther back before the battle, but it's like them sneaking in. So they finally get to the castle and they have a grappling hook which they use to get up. Um I think the Ewok, it's either Teak. I think Teak kills the guard by pushing him over the edge after getting up there while Noah was trying to get up. And then they all get up there, they get in there, and they get in the main hall where all the guys are like eating and messing around, and they know they have to go to the other side of the room to get to the prison. So they grab like a big hoodie, cloak, and they like go on top of each other. So Teek's like on the ground, Noah's carrying I think Sindel,
Kindle.
yeah, on top of them. No, she's in the prison, so it must be Wicket
Oh, that's
is on
right.
top. So like it's just like the old fashioned like they're on top and like they have a hoodie and like no one could tell that they're not like a part of the gang. So they finally get in the prison cells area and there's two prison guards and Keek goes up to take the keys, and to get the keys he puts one of the, because they're playing poker, puts one of the cards in the guy's sleeve. Uh During at the end of one of the turns, the card falls out, and he the other guy thinks he's cheating, so they shoot each other, and then they take that cue to take the keys and unlock the prison cell and let all the Ewoks out. And my favorite part was when they were gonna release the witch, but then Sindel was like stops him and tells she's evil and just throws the keys away, leaving her basically to die. Um,
Yeah, 'cause don't the keys go in like some drain or something? Like, there's no way
yeah,
to fish him out of there.
yeah, she was definitely screwed.
We also didn't mention like why she's in the prison because like she was working with the Marauders at first, but then I think she just couldn't.
She couldn't get the
Couldn't-
battery to work. And
right,
so Tarek basically, like, if you can't do it, you're doing it because you don't want to.
Yeah,
You're trying to fool me, kind of a thing.
right. So then she was put in prison, and then yeah, it leads up to what Kyle was saying, where we have this moment of we could save her, and then they're just like, forget you, kind of a thing, which is hilarious. It's savage.
yeah. That's what I thought they were gonna be, like friends or like something, but nope. They they just left her. And then they did. It was weird because I didn't know um he had her transform, the main bad guy had her transform into the crow or raven, and then apparently the ring that like she uses to activate her power doesn't transform with her. It stays on as like whatever she is, and then he took it off. So she was stuck in the raven form. So I thought that was a kind of a weird thing to add in, but
Yeah, because later the way he dies later in the film, like during the battle, is
uh-huh.
that one of the Ewoks, and I don't remember which one it was, but I think they like threw a rock or something at him, and it
Yeah.
hits the ring just right as if the ring's trying to be activated, but because the witch is not wearing the ring, it like explodes the guy or something crazy.
Yeah, it turns him into like
It turned
what
him
is
into
that?
stone.
Yeah. turns him into stone.
Yeah, so that was a weird twist of events.
Yeah.
Well, and I think he knew that the witch was diabolical and was not thrilled with the fact that he had put her in prison. So he took the ring when she was in crow form so that she had to come back to him. It was a way of kind of, you know, literally cuffing her by uncuffing her,
Yeah.
to make sure that she wouldn't try and double cross him.
That's a good point. I forgot about that. It's a nice power move.
Yeah.
Yeah, then
We
after that they start the bat. So
Yeah, we see some. I mean, like, there's obviously a battle. We see some of their like Ewok fighting tactics, I suppose, but I don't remember it being like as classic as uh Return of the Jedi, where they got like these giant logs all
uh-huh.
magically prepped ahead of time to like squish the when they were squishing the AT-AT. Like they don't have anything quite like that other than just throwing rocks. So that was interesting for me. Not that I necessarily expected them to have like the giant log setup, but like to have something, some sort of antics that they were up to that made them more powerful than just throwing rocks.
They did have some stuff set. They had like they had logs that they rolled down, and they had like a little trip rope ready, and then they had a what is
Mm.
the thing where it's like shoots rocks?
Catapult.
Ballista? Yeah, catapult. Um, they had those three things were like the main things um that they kind of set up for the fight. But I don't know how they got the catapult like really quick because they were getting chased like right after, like they had maybe minutes to set everything up.
Yeah. Well, and I jokingly said something about the Marauders getting trained by the stormtroopers because they couldn't shoot for their life. And then yet the Ewoks get guns and are marksmen's. So there was some more plot chasms.
Yeah, the
We
Ewoks are just
also
crack shots.
didn't we see Noah and Tarek have like a sword fight or something?
Yeah, they at the end they were fighting over the power source, and they had like a duel with his staff and his sword.
There is something that I forgot about this movie that is actually pretty big. And I just saw it on IMDb. Um, we were talking about how, stuff nowadays, and this has to do with the battle, so I'm not going too far off. Um, we're talking about how nowadays they use a lot of stuff from the old Star Wars in some of the new projects. The bad guys, the Marauders here, they travel on, was it blurgs? Is that what they're called? Or birds?
Oh yeah,
Oh
the
yeah.
lizard.
Those are the creatures that Mando rides
Yeah,
with Quill. That was kind of a cool thing to see.
You
I think he.
recognized that when we were watching them. I
Yeah,
remember you saying, "Isn't that what Mando wrote?"
yeah, I remember you saying that too.
Yeah, that was definitely neat to see, to have a creature call back like that. Unlike
Yeah.
Caravan of Courage, where a bunch of the creatures we kept seeing were everyday farm animals like chickens and llamas and stuff like that.
Goats.
Hey, you got to see your Endorian is it tip yip?
Yep, yep.
Dorian Tip Yip.
It's an Endorian chicken. That's what they serve at Galaxy's Edge.
Beach and delicious.
It was. It was very good. Was there anything else from the battle? I know we talked about they just basically skirmished and then the bad guy turned to stone, right?
Yeah, the
Turok.
Yeah.
bad guy turned. They were able to use the ship's Noah's ship's weapons for a little bit before I think Sindel got captured and they had to take it out.
Oh, yes, that's right. Because I remember seeing Teak in there,
Yeah,
and he was like using some sort of little computer system in the ship to be able to fire shots at the Marauders. I'm like, how does he know how to use this thing? How is he like? Hasn't he never seen a computer before? Like, wouldn't this be brand new and just magically he's just like, like he's just going at it.
I don't think our
Yeah.
viewers know, but we did a Star Wars RPG at one point, and that reminded me a lot of Josh and another one of our friends that plays Matt. Whenever there was like a battle that was just happening in like an open field, they were just like, where can we find a ship? Where can we just mess this up? And it reminded me of them when he would just run off to the ship and then did something random. Like I could see that that was like a thing that the DM didn't anticipate because I totally didn't.
Uh,
That's funny.
I love it.
One thing, this is kind of off topic, but like not with the fight, but with like Noah's backstory. He said it was his friend, and then like he had some young people, I think, with him, but they mentioned his friend, but I don't think they ever mentioned what happened to the other people that were with him on like that journey.
Yeah, that like Narek or Naresh or something like that
Yeah.
is the one that they found in one of the prison cells.
Hmm.
The skeleton of.
Yeah.
Yeah, they his story was again plot written character issues, but
It's just weird. It was a
it's probably a good thing. I would sum up the movie as it's probably good that they didn't charge people to get into the theater to watch it.
Say, did we confirm that this one did not go to theaters?
Oh, I have no idea. I was just running with that as the probability because it was bad.
I would yeah, I would agree with that. It was bad.
Premiered on ABC as a special, and yeah, it was given a limited international theater release in '86.
Hmm.
Wow,
Well,
yeah, I don't know if I would have saw that one in theaters.
yeah, same.
And then after the battle, like we mentioned, what's her face?
Sindel.
Kendall and
And
Noah.
and Noah, they fly off into the horizon, and who knows what happens with the two of them. Maybe there's a book out there that explains it. I have no
They do
idea.
have a book. There is a
They
book
do?
of this. Yeah. But I think it's just like it's the book of the movie, so I don't know if it explains. I had it pulled up.
It might. And we did a podcast recently about Rise of Skywalker, and it was hilarious how many times it was like brought up, this wasn't explained, and I was like, but if you read the book that was just on the movie, it explains so much other stuff. But yeah.
They have a Ewoks, The Battle of Endor was a book and recorded published as part of read along adventure series. And then they also have um the Ring, what would it go? The Ring, the Witch, and the Crystal of Ewok Adventures,
That
which
would
is
explain some of the magic behind the witch.
yeah, was a children's book that was released in 1986 and tied with the TV movie.
Sense. Kind of makes me want to read it just in case there is a little bit more there for it, but
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
just a cash grab.
Yeah, 32 pages, so yeah, 32 pages of info you might get that's not on there.
Yeah, I think I'm with Josh. I think I'd be willing to bet money that I wouldn't. But who knows? Maybe we'll find at the local library. Was there anything
We
else you
will.
guys wanted to say before we head out here?
Um, I
It
mean,
was
I,
interesting to see once, but I don't know that
yeah,
I need to watch it again.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can put in my resume that I've seen all of the Star Wars movies, and I can be speaking the truth, and that doesn't necessarily bode well.
No, but you have seen them all.
I have.
I was gonna say, Sarah loves Ewok movies, and she did not like this one. Well, she loves Ewoks. Didn't like the Ewok movie. I should clarify. Because
Caravan of Courage was much better.
I was surprised at the plethora, the cornucopia of different Ewok collectibles that Sarah has. It might be just past concerning.
You know what I forgot to show you guys was that I actually have a Wicket Chia pet.
Ugh.
Oh, wow.
it's amazing.
I love it. If you don't know me by now, I am obsessed with Ewoks, and I have an insane collection of Ewok action figures, stuffed animals, accessories, you name it, I got it pretty much. So yeah, I was very excited to watch the Ewok movies.
That grows plants out of its back just to be that. Let's put it in realism here. You literally have a thing that grows stuff out of it itself so that it can be an Ewok. That's dedication.
And I definitely feed that addiction. Guilty as charged.
It's a good husband.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was very excited for these movies. The first one, it was probably on par with the quality I was expecting, being that it's a TV movie and whatnot. It's not like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic, but it was pretty good. This one, ooh, I don't know about that. It was interesting, but not quite what I was hoping for.
A swing and a miss.
Yep.
Yeah. I would say if you want Ewoks, just there's an Ewok TV show, and I would recommend just watching that instead of the movies. If
Or
you
go to
really
Sarah's
want.
house
Seen that
and
yet,
see all of
but
it.
I'm looking forward to watching it.
Yeah.
And we will be covering it on the channel.
Maybe you should cover your Ewok collection.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Very well could. We've been trying to figure out maybe some different YouTube shorts we could do, and that could be one of them. Just like a big quick right through them all.
She has too many. It would not be.
It couldn't be a YouTube short.
All right. Well, I think we've talked. Ooh, I saw your mouth move. I didn't actually.
I said it would be a YouTube long. That it would be a YouTube long.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if they have those yet.
Hey, you could be a trendsetter.
Yeah.
You could start it.
You can start it. We're gonna kick it off with Ewoks. But yeah, I think we probably talked almost as long as the movie is, which is pretty interesting. But as you can tell from us, the first one is a good one. The second one, not so much. If you want to see all the Star Wars films, check it out once just to say you've done it, and then you probably won't watch it again. Unlike the holiday special, I do like watching that one quite a bit. And that's deemed the worst one. So I don't know. It's for you to find out. But as far as this video, we're wrapping it up. So if you enjoyed this type of video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. We are doing these types of videos every Wednesday, and we are doing a lot of them. Like, we have a whole plan probably through the rest of the year, at least so far. And so we're going to be doing this for quite some time. Drop us a like if you like the video, and drop us a comment letting us know if you've seen the movie, what your thoughts are, and if it scarred your childhood too. So, and as always, everybody, thank you for watching.
It was so bad it scarred my kid's childhood, and he didn't watch it.
Whoa.
That's bad. We'll see you next time.